Broadcasting around the world on the World Wide Web.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. The most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Oh yeah. Broadcasting live from the Josie Network studios in downtown Medina, Tennessee. It's that time of week again. It's time for the Josie Show. Bringing you the most exciting music news and guests from around the world. Right here on the Josie Show. Please make welcome the beautiful, the talented, the lovely, America's radio sweetheart, Mrs. Josie Asantino Boone.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Josie Show. My special guest today is Pat Melfi. He's a former MCA Records VP of Finance. He's done concert production, manager to Michael Peterson and the Imperials. He has his own music out. So there's so much that we're going to be able to talk to him about today. So let's just bring him on right now. Pat Melfi, hi.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You betcha. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So first off, congratulations are in order because you have your first #1 song as a songwriter for your song, The Leftover Guy, charted as #1 this week on the European Country Hot Disc Top 40 chart. So what was going through your mind when you found this information out?
Well, first of all, I didn't believe it.
Right, exactly.
I was like, really? I wrote this song in 1989, you know.
Yes.
And it's ever since I got with Michael, you know, he has encouraged me to, get down to business with my own music, which I've intentionally not worked on over the years because I was too busy taking care of others, you know, which was my calling in life, was to help other people get out on the road with their music. So I left mine sitting in a vault someplace. Then my daughter found it and she was like, "Dad, we need to be doing stuff with this." And I said,
Yes.
"Oh, darling, it's too late for that. I'm an old fart. Who cares?"
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. So anyway, started working with Michael about 2 years ago, and he's a great songwriter, and he started looking at some of the stuff I was working on, and he started helping me out, and next thing I know, we're putting stuff out for both him and I.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so this was my first shot out of the gate, and they've released it over in Europe first, and I guess I found out that it was #1 in the UK.
That's incredible. Wow. That's so neat. And it's so interesting that so long ago you wrote this. So I'd love to kind of go back to your mindset at that time. Tell me about The Leftover Guy and the inspiration behind it. What was initially the spark to write this one?
Well, it wasn't a good time in life. There was, quite a bit of travel going on.
Right.
And at the time, I was married, and, sometimes people have needs that don't get fulfilled when you're out on the road. So, I basically was feeling like I was the leftover guy when she said goodbye. So That's kind of what it was. It was a sad story, but it was true, heartfelt story, and I felt like she traded some stranger's smile in for, she traded my best years in for some stranger's smile. And so now I felt like the leftover guy.
Right, absolutely. It's so relatable, though. I mean, so many people could feel this exact same way that have been in the same situation. And with your music, you could help so many others too.
Well, I think that's probably what happened. Was I realized after I got the news that that's probably what did it. That there's a lot of people that could relate to that. So I heard once before that if you're going to write a top song or number one song, that you should, become an expert on the subject, so that the subject will appeal to the masses.
Yeah, and it is a great song. I hope everyone checks it out. It is available on all, digital streaming platforms. You can check it out. But also, there is a album out, Whiskey Kicks and Broken Spurs. What is the best way you would describe this album and the songs on it to someone who may not have heard it yet?
I would say that it's from that same time frame. So during that time frame, I was coming off of the Supertramp tour that I was running across America.
Yeah.
And I went into a rehabilitation period of time in life at that point.
Mhm.
And so part of that rehabilitation was to, you have to relocate, kind of leave things behind and
Sure.
change the environment. Otherwise you just fall down again. So I moved to a place called Temecula, California.
Mhm.
And it was out in the country. At the time, it had a population of about 500. And it was very quiet, and it was easy for me to, get involved in what I thought would help me to stay straight for a long time, which I have since then, which is really kind of cool because that's been over 40 years now.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So, it was the country, if you would, even though it was in California, it was located in the country. So I got into my Western world and things of that sort. So the album became very much like a Waylon Jennings, like Christopherson, Willie Nelson, those kind of guys. So I made it a concept album. It's steeped in outlaw country and southern rock. It's pretty gritty and pretty poetic. Most of the songs would be for fans of Colter Wall or Johnny Cash, Sturgill Simpson, Chris Stapleton, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So in my opinion, it's a great sound. It's like Chris Stapleton is pretty hot right now in what they're calling Americana, which, I remember when that all happened, I was just like, I wonder if he likes Waylon Jennings. Because Waylon Jennings was doing this probably before he was born,
Yeah.
And so it just became it's a southern rock background, it's a Americana kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool though. There's some very cool songs on it that are pretty cinematic, if you will.
Oh yeah.
I think the big song on it if we are ever gonna do anything with it, is 8 Seconds from a Better Life, and that is a song that's a rodeo song, and it's a very cool rodeo song. It's high energy, and a couple of other things I put in there that I thought was kind of fun. Like when I was going through my rehabilitation place, I created this song called "Hell's Just a Town with a 2-drink minimum."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I don't know how people are gonna respond, but it's Yellowstone type stuff.
Yeah.
I guess what they would call Y Marshalls and the Dutton Ranch today. And right now I'm looking at trying to place some of these songs in these TV shows, because I think some of them did.
Oh yeah, sync placement. I mean, that's definitely where it is. And I think these songs, like you said, and you said it so well, that they are cinematic. I mean, you could sit back and really imagine and picture what you're telling. And that goes back to your great storytelling. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely can see it on any kind of those kind of shows. You know what I mean? Like Yellowstone or whatnot. You know what I mean? It'd be amazing.
Sure. Yeah. Landman would be a really good one for this album, because there's some stuff in there that is, it's really kind of weird. I wrote all this stuff, and I wrote the music based on the bands that I was around at the time. And then I just never did anything with it. But what I did do was I recorded it. Because I was, during my term at MCA Records, I had availability to studios and studio musicians and whatever.
Yeah.
And, so we would just go in and record what we would call demos. But today, the demos are, from back then, are what people want to hear. They want to hear the raw stuff. So this is exactly what it is at this point. It's a pretty, I've been having probably the time of my life doing it. It's fascinating to me though. We were talking last night with my publicist, and we were talking about the journey from Tom Petty and Pink Floyd to the Imperials. you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
which is where we are now, you know, because
It's so
I manage Michael and I manage the Imperials. How funny it is that God just brings you around full circle, you know?
full circle. I'm telling you, this is life. And it's you've had over the years just so many different facets in the entertainment business that you've been a part of. Like you said, former MCA Records, VP of Finance, actually. You've worked in, concert production and now manager, of course. So, all of those years, do you feel have helped kind of culminate and get you to the place that you are now? I'm sure
I
it has.
agree. I
Mm-hmm.
totally agree. And
Yeah.
I've watched them come and go, and I've watched them rise and fall, you know, as a promoter.
Mm-hmm.
And, in my tenure with MCA Records, which started with Tom Petty,
Mm-hmm.
those years were all kind of fascinating to watch. And, a lot of those people were just icons, I mean, like people didn't really believe that they were going to have careers for 50 years.
Right.
But
Right.
but these
They
are
have.
guys that I was fortunate enough to work with, and they just
Mm-hmm.
kept going. They just never stopped,
Yeah,
And
exactly. And nobody
so I'm
wanted them to stop either. The fans were into
well,
it, you know.
and
Mhm.
actually Tom Petty's catalog is selling more now than it ever has. And
Wow.
all the new stuff that's there, that the unreleased studio sessions and things of that sort, which that's what my daughter doesn't want to have happen. She wants me to get all this stuff out,
Hmm.
go have fun with it now while I can. At
Hmm.
74, you never know. I've
Hmm.
learned over the years that God's the master of cold calls. He doesn't pick up the phone and say, I'll pick you up at noon. He just shows up and says, get your
Exactly.
call. Yeah. I used
Exactly.
to tell my kids that all the time. And I'd say, so whatever you're doing when he shows up, you better be proud of it.
Yes.
Right?
I love that. I agree with your daughter. I'm glad that took the step and you put this out there because it's just incredible. It's incredible work. And have you ever thought of, just from your career, ever think about like a memoir or something? Because I'm sure you've had stories over the years,
I've had people approach me on that topic before. I just, I don't know.
Sure.
Honestly, Josie, I've
Mhm.
spent most of my life being really shy. I know that's hard for some people to believe because they go,
Right.
how is that possible? But all the way back to my childhood, I knew that there was something there, but I didn't want it to interfere with other artists that I was involved with directing and their careers.
Ah, that makes
So,
sense.
so I sort of set it aside. And what's really strange is that in my early days, I took a piano lesson, and one piano lesson. And the lady said,
Yeah.
well, I guess here's what you got to do for next week. And I'll see you back here next week at this time. And I said, with all due respect, I don't think you'll see me back here. And she was like,
Mm.
excuse me? I don't want to learn how to play music. I want to learn how to write it. I said, and my journey over the years has been also includes muse art, as you may or may not know, which
Yes, of
is this,
course.
which is the study of music and arts and the battle of music and arts in the lives of children. I feel that there's a shortcoming in the educational system with music because while it teaches you discipline and technique and all of that other good stuff, it really doesn't teach you to write. It just, here's a, Rachmaninoff prelude in C minor, go home and study it and learn it and play it. But it doesn't do anything to tear it apart and
Mhm.
see what is it that crafted it so well so that I could get into the idea of writing. So it's fascinating to me because I have, like when I hear a melody in my head, I hear everything goes with it. Like I can hear strings, I can hear drums, I could hear bass, I could hear all the instruments in my head.
Mhm.
So as a kid, I would, when I say a kid, when I was in my 20s, I would just sit down and ping around with the piano, and I would write all these melodies, and I'd record them so that I wouldn't forget them. And then at a later date, whenever I'd have the kinds of musicians that I'd want in the studio that were doing that, which were mostly people doing film scoring, I would get them to record this stuff. And we have an album on YouTube. It's called Lazy Sunday Afternoon Music,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it's a killer album for. It's really targeted towards the woman that has a full calendar. You know, she's busy, she's got kids, she's got a full-time job, and she just wants an hour to herself. Wants to sit down, maybe read a book, have a glass of wine or whatever it is that keeps her relaxed. And I was quite surprised. It got 260,000 views in really short order.
Wow.
I was like, what the heck? And it's a 90-minute compilation of all the film score music that I would write that never went anywhere. It just went into my archives. So you know, it goes from orchestral to outlaw Americana to country, and now we're into contemporary Christian music. And I'm like,
wow. Yes.
holy cow, you know, it's crazy.
You've had a journey.
I'm meeting tomorrow with the guys from the Imperials who, you know, have heard a song that I wrote called God is Everywhere, and another song that I wrote called Divine Design. You know, we are the divine design of Christ. And
love it.
They heard that and they were like, we got to talk to Pat.
Yeah.
We want to know what he's doing with these songs because we want to sing them. And I'm like, holy cow, really? So I would not have met them, the Imperials, if I didn't meet Michael. You know, there would not be a band that I would run down the road and see. Now, my wife, on the other hand, actually knew who they were and grew up on their music.
Oh, nice.
I was quite surprised when I told her I was going to manage them. She said, what? You mean the Imperials, like the Christian band? I said, no, honey, I was talking about Little Anthony and the Imperials. And she was like, no, well, that would be more your style. And I said, yeah, but most of those guys have already left us, you know.
Yeah.
I said, so, and even some of the best of the Imperials have left us, you know. I said, but she knew all their songs. And I was shocked. I mean, I started she'd be dancing around the house. I'd be learning this. She had some dance moves I didn't know she had. You know, she's dancing around the house to I'm Forgiven and One More Song for You and Praise the Lord. And I'm like, what the heck? You know, so
amazing.
Yeah. Well, she's a daughter of a Baptist minister, so you know that's how I got it. I figured it out quick. You know?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So I'm pretty excited about that too because you know I want to pair them with the younger generation of contemporary Christian music, you know, the Brandon Lakes and the Megan Woods and Lauren Daigle's, and I want to do duets of all their Grammy Award songs with these younger artists and package that up into a new and maybe a grand finale album for the Imperials, you know.
Oh, yes, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so that's my goal. And my neighbor was asking me, you know, how this came about. And I said, you know, I was just sitting in my living room and I just decided I was going to just say, you know, Lord, what do you want me to do here? You know, I'm thinking about Dark Side of the Moon and, you know, Running Down a Dream and, you know, Refugee.
Yeah.
And now you got me in front of the Imperials. Okay, so what would you like me to do here? And all that kind of just came to mind. Bottom line, I feel like I'm just the soldier in his army. And he's, you know, handing out assignments and, you know, for all of us to choose whether or not we want to accept those assignments. And at my stage in life, at 74 years old, I'm thinking I'm accepting every assignment he hands down because I might be meeting him pretty soon. You know?
Right. I mean, all of us need to, you know, really kind of do that because, you know, you want to experience as much in this life, but also do things for him, you know, what he has for you, his, you know, calling for you. And that's how I feel. I feel the same way that you do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I believe that what we're doing, you and I, both of us we're doing what I call a calling. This is what we do. And God, you know, gave us this assignment. We accepted it. And now we just have to hang out on the sidelines and wait for him to give us guidance, you know. Absolutely. And that's what I did with Michael and the Imperials. Michael and I were in Nashville just last week and he said, do you have a plan? And I said, no, not really.
We're going with it. We're gonna let it come. Yes.
And then later he texted me because we went two different ways on flights, and he said, you know, he goes, I love that about you. And I said, what? He goes, no plan, huh? I said, Michael, I didn't have a plan when we first started, now look, you got 2 records coming out. You got, I mean, you got, I said, we're
Exactly.
doing God's work. And,
Exactly.
and when we set up our company, he and I said, I have one condition to doing this. And he said, what's that? I said, God is the CEO.
Yes, absolutely. Always.
Yep.
God's
And he was
timing
like,
too. It really
well,
is.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's exciting,
So exciting.
yeah, it's fun to watch, him work in our lives.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
really is. It really is. And I'm just so excited to see what is next for you, what he puts in your place, in your heart and in your career. And then, of course, Michael Peterson and the Imperials. I wish luck to every single one of you. And for our listeners who want to connect with you after the show, can you share where you are on social media? Because I know you're on social media.
Oh yeah, I've got them all.
Yeah.
Patricia manages all that, but it's
Mhm.
Facebook and Instagram. I'm not any good at that stuff. I mean, at my age, I can I'm doing good just to text you.
Right. You
It's
were
like
too funny.
when my daughter said she wanted some of my music, so I put 2 CDs together for her, and I was going down to LA. I dropped in on her and said, here's some music for you. And she looked at me and she said, what would you like me to play that on? I said, what? And she goes, oh, we don't have a CD player. I don't have them in my car. I don't have them anywhere. I was like,
Oh, I know.
I said, dang, you're making me feel old. And she goes, can you put that on the thumb drive? And I said, I can, but it'll be so compressed and it won't sound near as good.
Right.
So I printed it all up on vinyl for her.
There you go. There you go.
I gave it to her on vinyl, and she said, "Now I got to go buy a turntable."
Right now, I gotta bring it to her. Exactly. It's so funny how music has changed. It's so much. I remember CD players. So that was, because I was born, in the 90s, and so they still had some CD players and CD players in cars. Now they don't have that anymore. So it's funny how it all evolves, doesn't it? Now it's all digital.
Well, I'm sad about it too because I just got a new. I've just got a new car, and in my old car, there was a CD player that I could stick a CD into it, and it would record. It would record what was on that CD into what they called a jukebox. So it would store it on the computer in the car, and I would never need that CD again.
Exactly.
Now I got a new model, and they didn't have the CD player. I said, well, that's like a downgrade. What's wrong with you people?
Exactly. Come on now. Defective. Yeah, I hear you.
But what are you going to do? You just got to keep up with the times, right?
Yes, right. You definitely are doing it. And I hope everybody, checks out, of course, the album Whiskey Kicks and Broken Spurs, available now. The Leftover Guy is also on, digital platforms. You can stream it wherever you are. But also you have a YouTube channel you have lyric videos and so much more as well. So I urge people to also check out your YouTube. You got content everywhere.
Yeah, we've got content. We've got more content than we know what to do with. Michael and I are starting a new publishing company. We have 1,500 songs between he and I.
Whoa, that is incredible.
Yeah, we're excited about it. So
that is so exciting.
I'm really excited for him and what's happening in his world. I feel that he is such a gifted person, and not only as a musician, but as a human being.
Right.
I mean, there are people people have asked me, is that guy for real? And I go like, what do you mean? He's so nice. I say,
yes,
that's who he is.
Exactly.
It's almost like they act like there's no room in the world for something like that. Like,
interesting.
We're living in such a different place that who would have ever guessed? And I was like, yeah, there are good people in the world.
They are. I promise you. They're out there.
Yep, there's tons of them out there. Just keep looking. They're there.
I had so much fun getting the opportunity to talk with you. And please come back on. Anytime you have anything you'd like to talk about, promote, please just remember me. And I would love to have you back on.
Thanks, Josie. You have a good day.
Thank you all so much for tuning into the Josie Show today. Make sure to stay tuned to josieshow.com on our upcoming guest tab to see who is coming up next on the Josie Show. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.